So welcome everybody. We have a very, very special guest today, Miss Hayley Paige. And I have not been in the bridal market for some time, but I am wearing my bridal gown from many, many years ago. So this is a tribute to Hayley. Hayley is a wedding designer. She's also a shoe designer. But moreover, she has a very, very inspiring story. That's why she calls herself the Chief Inspiration Officer of Hayley Paige bridal gowns. So we're going to get into her full story. But first, I want to toast to you and your continuing success.
Oh, thank you. Toast to you as well. And
Thank you.
friendship.
Thank you. So I said, I read that this is the woman, she's such an icon for beauty and inspiration, but she had me with her inspiring quote, when one door closes, you kick the other one down in sparkly shoes. So anyone that knows me knows I'm a glamour girl also. I can't have too much glitter or sparkles, gold, like the whole thing. So I think we can all learn a lot from this rather plucky chief inspiration officer. So her story, I'll let you tell it in a nutshell. So
Yeah. Do you want me to jump in?
yeah, I was going to
You
start the
got
with it, but
it.
you tell it better than me.
I am a wedding dress designer, and I've had a very interesting journey because I got started right out of college designing in the industry that just spoke to me from a very young age. And I ended up signing a contract when I was just 25 without a lawyer. And out of fear that I might lose out on the opportunity, I did so without an attorney and, got right to work. And that led into like an amazing, beautiful chapter of so many brides and say yes to the dress and just, an endless world of dreaminess. And my original contract was actually coming to an end back in 2019, which would amass to about 8 years of this, chapter. And I ended up getting sued by my former employer. And it was over the original contract I had signed. And that kind of just, turned my world upside down. And I had to navigate a legal case and fight for my rights. I lost the ability to use my own birth name in any business or commerce. I had to hand over my personal social media accounts and fight for those. And I also was held under an unpaid non compete, which was pretty terrifying because when your livelihood gets stripped in that way, it's pretty terrifying. So it's been a very tumultuous, but also learned many lessons learned, I guess. So
Yeah.
there's some good that comes from that. I would like to say that at this point, I've really taken the long route. So
Well,
ho-
you
hopefully people.
really are just pure joy. Everything that I've seen from you on social media and other news coverage, it just sort of bubbles forth. And, the whole thing is dreamy and like a fairy tale. So that bad company is like the Wicked Witch, but you're the princess that, really was able to survive all of this. So that's it in a nutshell what happened. So it was like really great, and then not so great, and then you're back. So I want to also just get a little personal if I can, but if you can tell us like what a typical day in the life of Miss Hayley Paige is like.
Oh, yes, I can. And before I get to that, I'll just put a little bow on that challenging chapter because it ended in a very positive legal settlement. And in that settlement, I ended up getting the rights to my name back, as well as my dog is coming to say hello. One
Yeah.
memento.
What's her name? What's the piece
uh,
name?
Her name is Winnie, and she
Winnie.
likes to be heard. What, Fred? Come.
Come on, Winnie. I
She's just
see her in a lot of the
looking
posts.
out for me. Anytime the door, and there's a knock or there's a ring, she's like, "I'm on it. Don't worry, mom." Um, but yeah, so I'm so sorry to interrupt that, but I did have a positive legal settlement, and not only did I get my name back and my intellectual property, but I will be relaunching the Hayley Page ad camp or the sorry, I will be relaunching the Hayley Page brand in full capacity in the bridal couture category.
When is that going to be?
That will actually be in just a month. So we have been gearing up for this very exciting runway debut, which is taking place at the Colony in Palm Beach.
Oh, nice.
And yes, so we're going to be doing a big, fun, splashy runway show, and that will be when the official collection drops.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Um, yeah, but going back to your question about the day in the life, I would say I'm very lucky that it's always a bit multifaceted, and there's just so many different elements to the business, whether I'm designing or sewing or copywriting, working on content. There's just so much variety to it. So there really isn't so much a typical day because there's always so many little moments to be had in this creative world. And it's also very helpful that it's sentimental.
Sentiment. Would you say you're a workaholic?
Oh, for sure. And I say that proudly. I love my work, and
Me
I
too.
know many people cannot say that. So I am very grateful for it. I'm so grateful I get to do it again after all that I've been through. And so it is something that I'm really treasuring.
Good for you. I feel that way too. I'm a an author, writer, and a garden designer, but it really just feels like, when you can bring that joy to other people, it doesn't feel so much like work. But can you tell us how you became a bridal designer? Was that something you dreamed about from when you were little? And did you go to design school for that?
Yes, I did. I went to Cornell University
Oh,
and
that's
they
my
had,
father's alma mater. I love that.
oh my
Yeah,
gosh, no way. That's
yes,
fabulous.
yeah.
Go Big Red.
Go Big
Um,
Red. Far above
yeah.
Chattanooga's waters.
I love it. Yeah, Ithaca is gorgeous. But I had an amazing college experience, truly remarkable professors that gave me a lot of skill and confidence to become a designer as a profession. So there was so much viability that I gained in going to that particular school. They had a fiber science program, and that's what I focused on. I actually graduated with a bachelor's of science, but I do have, all the techniques and drapings and things that we learned for design there. So I would say my grandmother is probably the number one reason I was led down a path in wanting to do specifically wedding dresses because she taught me to sew when I was 6 or 7 years old. We were knitting blankets for the children's hospitals and creating pillowcases and baking and just doing all kinds of making things with your hands.
Maker.
And I think too, just being a child of the '90s, growing up on Disney princesses, and I was a gymnast. I love romance and the pomp and pageantry of things and the wedding being this big moment. And so I've always just gravitated toward the meaning behind it all and got right into it right after college. So
Gosh, I didn't
never
even
really,
know. You said Cornell had a fabric science program?
yeah, it was called fiber science and apparel
Five.
design.
I didn't even know
Hmm.
that. That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah. It's in the home ec college.
yeah,
So
yeah, home ec. That makes sense. That makes sense. I see you learned something. So then, when you graduated Cornell, did you come to New York City?
yes, I moved to New York right after graduation. I took a job at a high fashion company called Jill Stewart. And then I was there for about 6 months and then got back or got into bridal for the first time. I want to say it's 2008 when I first got
Right.
into that industry and then really never looked back until my legal hiatus.
Right. What were your early successes? They talk about your design style and brand personality. Like, how does it affect that? I read you have this bold use for people that don't know. I mean, everyone knows Hayley Paige and being Paige, but you have this bold use of color, all these celestial embellishments, all the layered tool. I mean, I had that. I mean, every girl, I think, when you try on dresses, you want to feel like, that princess. But you have this sort of playful but elegance about it. So were there early successes that said this is for me, or did you always know I'm going to design a bridal gowns?
Ah, that's such a great question. I definitely could pinpoint a few moments in my career that I felt were really paramount in one step leading to the next. And I think the growth on Instagram and using that as a tool to share my designs and my whereabouts and processes really led to a very supportive community and one that gave me a lot of accountability to keep showing up for and wanting to share in the joy. And that was pretty impactful in my career. And on the design side, I definitely kind of got into a nice rhythm with my aesthetic in the early days, doing a lot of unique fabric manipulations and introducing a striped ball gown and a cropped ball gown and all kinds of stuff like that. And I think with every little bite you take outside of your comfort zone, you start to move forward even more and you catch that momentum. Earlier in life, I'm not really sure because I think I relate more to people that have a lot of doubts when they're chasing down a big dream. And I am definitely somebody that needs a lot of reassurance that I'm good at something before I can really do it. And I wasn't convinced while I wanted to be a wedding dress designer, I wasn't fully convinced that I was going to get to do that, that I would be good enough. So I try to message that to young people that it's okay to have those doubts and it's okay to like have those moments of imposter syndrome or whatever it may be. Just don't give in to them, want it more than those fears. So
Yeah,
I always see that as fear it less, not be without fear.
I know you have such good influence and enthusiasm. So then, I mean, say yes to the dress is huge, and your gowns have been worn by all these celebrities. So how did the, say yes to the dress come about? And can you tell us anything about maybe your favorite celebrities and dressing them?
I was invited to be on Say Yes to the Dress from the owner of Kleinfeld, Ronnie Rothstein. And it happened after a trunk show where I was just working the floor and interacting with brides. And it just kind of organically it was an organic invitation. And I never anticipated being on television. So that was definitely a pretty exciting experience. And I think the more you do something, the more comfortable you get with it.
Yeah.
So that was important because I had never had media training or anything like that.
Well,
But I would say that the relationships with brides and stores are what I'm most proud of because those have been really lasting relationships
mm,
and have really helped me um, just stay focused on where I hope to add value.
yeah. I mean, I can see in your social media and some of the media coverage the genuine enthusiasm and sincere appreciation for what you bring to these brides. I mean, you can't buy that kind of love. I mean, that just seems incredible. And how do you keep pace with that? Because a public who adores you can be very needy.
I really see it as my accountability buddy in a very unique way that it's first kind of a friendship and there's got to be a bit of trust because when you're in a product driven business there is always this tendency to feel like you have to lead with sales. And I try to position myself so that I can be an advocate to the bride or to the shopper so that, let's just have a good time. Let's have the experience first. And if you find something you like, amazing. But there is something I think to just setting the framework of humanity.
Yeah,
So that's something I've kind of relied on. But I also feel like today's world, it's so important to give time to people. And time is your time and your energy is the most valuable resource you do have. And when you choose to use it to acknowledge people and make them feel seen or make them feel joy through a dress, that's such a beautiful thing to be able to do. So the practicing of gratitude every day, and that is very helpful for me.
I do that too with my yoga and meditation. And I also
Oh, lovely.
it makes a big difference in your life when you really practice gratitude like that. But yours is a genuine enthusiasm. I mean, I did go to school in Switzerland for fashion, and I loved it. But
Oh,
I worked at
fantastic.
yeah, it was. I worked at Bergdorf Goodman, the buying office, and then had a shop and things. So you always liked the fashion aspect, and I always thought it was an art form. And I'm thinking back a lot of my uh, fellow students, but I don't think anyone went into bridal design. So that's such a unique, kind of venue, for you to be in. So who influenced you besides the Disney princess brides? Who were your mentors or influencers to sort of bring you into this?
My parents have been very inspiring throughout my whole life. Just their capacity for support and love and hard work ethic as well. I think that's something they instilled in my sister and I when we were young, and it was something we both aspired to have, is that ability to want to really put the effort in and show up and participate in things. And I would say in the last few years, I've been blessed with a tremendous mentor that I've never had in this capacity before, but on the business side of things. And he was extremely helpful and intelligent in my legal case, and also just helping me get kind of back on my feet, which made me realize that someday I hope to be that kind of a mentor to somebody else in kind of passing off that good fortune or that good faith attitude and helping somebody through something.
Who was that mentor that was so special?
He's actually just a friend of our my fiance and I, and he actually knew my fiance first.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just been a really blessed relationship.
Oh God, that you have that. That is a blessing for sure. I see that you live in Palm Beach. Is that right?
I do. Yes, we live in
Yeah.
Palm Beach now. Hmm.
So I was going to ask first, like, did you travel a lot, and you know, is that in kind of influence? And then why did you move to Palm Beach? Most people in fashion design, I think, are either in New York or L.A. So how did you travel to there?
Yeah, we actually moved here in 2021. Conrad got a job working in real estate. So he took a big career pivot as well, and that's what brought us here. I never anticipated living in Florida, but I love it and I'm happy to be here. We definitely think fondly of our chapter in New York City, and it's always so nice to go back and visit, but it's also great to be in new areas.
Oh, for sure. Palm Beach is beautiful, so it's like a great crowd. So when you're in New York, we'll have to meet up in real life, and we can
Yeah.
treat you to some lunch or breakfast or something with a lot of champagne to go along with it.
I would love that. And are you in New York?
We do live in the village, and in the before times, we were there all during week and so on for work. And then we came to our country house here in New Jersey, in the Garden State, that we look back at the hunts. Bill, here, show the table too, Bill. So he's going to show you a little bit. You can
Oh,
see.
how beautiful. Wow. That's can't beat that.
Yeah, you can't beat it. So we take the ferry. So a lot of people here, they work in financial services. Billy, he's like enamored. We've been working so hard because it's my mother's 100th birthday starting
Oh,
at July 3rd. So we've been working on the gardens and sort of
happy
getting there.
birthday to your mother.
Yes,
That's wonderful. What a beautiful place to be.
it is. It really is a little
Enchanting.
bit like, Shangri-La here. So right here we have the dining table, and then I did this as an homage to you with all the wedding type theme and a
Oh,
princess,
that is stunning.
a
I
Cinderella
love.
bridge and all of that. So I thought that would be fun. So going back to your obstacles or challenges, I mean, it was rough, really, not being able to have the rights to your name and not being able, am I correct in saying that you weren't able to work or make money? So if that's true, and then you started the shoe business.
I did. Yeah, so I was under a non-compete and I needed to go, into a category that was non-competitive, and I had this design skill set. So I basically just said, okay, what else can I design
Yeah,
and what can I do with my skill set? And so shoes seemed like a nice product derivative of the dress. It's usually the second thing she goes and buys after she gets the dress. And there was a lot of transferable skill there. So I had a great time with shoes. I learned so much on the business side of things in terms of inventory and,
right.
financial projections and learning how to balance your expenses and all that good stuff. So the experience felt really like my own little MBA
Yeah, really.
in some kind of way.
I'm going to ask you about passing that on, but where do you make your shoes and dresses? Are they here in the States or manufactured? Or is it
Yeah, we
couture?
manufacture. We have a manufacturing partner that we just secured through Maddie Lane, and they are an incredible house of bridal gowns. And the shoes is actually a totally separate business. The
Gotcha.
shoes are sold direct to consumer online,
Oh,
and I design everything from my home. And I have actually a brand new office atelier that we just opened. And so I've been putting the finishing touches on that. But I'm a very hands on designer. So I really do everything from scratch and really put the extra time and attention into storytelling with our fabrics and our prints and patterns and all that layering.
I have to tell you
So,
that
yeah.
that glow gown, I so want that. It was like,
Yes.
how did you ever come up with that idea? I just never saw anything like that.
Honestly, that one was created from a concept I had. So it was actually based on a bouquet of flowers. And that's how I originally drew the print. And then from that, I thought how beautiful it would be to create a sparkle effect that almost feels like the outline or mosaic pieces of the floral are shimmering. And we found this technique. We're calling it caviar, but basically it's these little tiny beads that in the dark. So it creates this glow effect. It's not like the neon glow where you turn off the lights and it's glowing almost green. It's more of a reflective glow,
Uh,
which is so great for evenings at weddings and the lighting and outside. And we actually just shot the ad campaign and we did something at night and it was the moonbeams that
uh,
were reflecting off the dress. It was so stellar. It was stelliferous.
I love it. I mean, you're so glowing, so I can just see this whole subline of glow shoes and dresses that go along.
Thank you.
Yes. So going back to the Wicked Witch part, but when you testified in front of the Senate committee, I mean, I read about you in the New York Times, and I said this woman is so iconic and someone who can really we can all learn from. But how did that come about that you were asked to testify there for the non-compete clauses in contracts?
That was a wild experience. I was invited by Senator Warren, and it was as simple as a direct message on Instagram. And she was kind of spearheading a lot of the conversation over the FTC's ban on non competes. And my particular case was certainly an extreme example of, how these contracts can potentially be extremely detrimental to individuals as well as businesses. And it was a really poetic ending to a very challenging time because I was able to completely share my story from start to finish. But also, I could speak on how I started a business as well.
Mm.
So, not just as an employee that was unsubjected to a non compete, but as an employer too, that why we do want to keep people working. And so I felt like it was nice to be able to share both sides of the coin there and say why ultimately non-competes are not a great thing for the economy.
Yeah, yeah, I loved it. You had such poise. It was very, very impressive.
Thank you. That's so sweet of you to say. I was so nervous.
I
So
bet
nervous. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
you didn't show it. I mean, obviously you have a story to tell, and it's genuine from the heart. And I think that's what will resonate with people. And you could just see the heads nodding and saying, "Who would do this to you?" Plus, you can see you're hardworking and you have the success you had. And I mean, I'll just say, I mean, you're beautiful, and beauty is power, but you use it in
Thank
such a
you.
very good, I think, affirming way that it's welcoming to people rather than the opposite of that. So good for you. A lot of women who do get taken advantage of in different ways, but they always try to play down their beauty, whether it's actresses saying, "Oh, I don't wear makeup," or "I don't do this." But I love that you embrace the femininity and the joy that comes with being a girl.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I very much embrace femininity and girliness
Yeah,
and
I
yeah,
love it.
yeah.
If a young woman wanted to follow in your footsteps, what would you say to her, or what advice could you give her?
My piece of advice is that there's so much of life you have to go through to learn things, and it's always great to learn from other people's mistakes because you can kind of skip ahead a few chapters, but ultimately there will just be moments in your life where you're experiencing something that will really test you and it will push you, and it's such a good thing. And in those moments where it feels like things are just insurmountable or insufferable and how you're ever going to get through it, it's important to remember that it's just a temporary moment and it's
Mm,
probably going to make you better.
mm,
So that's like a tiny bit of security you can have when you're really in those valleys and in the depths of something scary. And I would also say that the inverse to that too is that when things are going really well and everything is amazing, that's also temporary. And it's really good to have kind of a grounded state of being so that who you are on the day to day is most of the time more important than those highs and lows.
that's really good pearls of wisdom that we all can follow no matter what. When you were in the depths of it, did you ever say, maybe I'm never going to get it back, or did you always know that you were going to see this through?
There were moments where I did not think I was going to get my name back, and I actually had pretty full conviction when I came out with Cheval and that brand. I was ready to kind of run full speed and never look back, and I kind of needed a little bit of that to feel like I'm on a new path and not feel like I was being tethered to my past.
Yeah.
But when I ended up getting my name back, of course, it was such a relief and this homecoming and a feeling of, just opening a time capsule almost. And that feeling is not something I ever expected to have. So it was wonderful to experience.
Oh, congratulations. I mean, I saw the images from your bridal fashion week here in New York, and that looked like an astonishing party from all the details that you put into the invitation and, the taxi and the branding and all of that. So, congratulations on that. And do you have a
Thank
team that does
you.
all that with you?
So we have a pretty small team. I'm still pretty hands-on when it comes to social media because it needs to really truly be my voice when I'm interacting with people and when I'm putting up content and everything, and I'm so particular. So I really try to own that as much as I can, and I try to get to all my direct messages, which is not easy because I have so many accounts at this point. But I just really don't take it for granted, and I am grateful that we have the ability to connect with people on such a direct level.
Yeah, I can see that, and I felt it, and I thank you for all of your quick responses and getting back. That's why I said to you in one of the emails, I can see why you're so successful because you just get right to it and not all the nonsense and people and my people will call your people and all this kind of thing.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
So I know you said you don't do bridal trends, but when you look ahead, what are what inspires you, and then what do you think is going to be on the horizon in terms of your own special designs?
What I like the most right now about the industry is that there are so many expressive brides out there that want to do something that is truly unique and speaks to their personality.
Yeah.
And so that just creates this kind of endless landscape to
Mhm.
design into, knowing that there's always going to be a different type of bride coming down the aisle. Even if it's a similar dress or it's the same dress, the way she wears it is going to be truly
Mm,
unique and all the themes and elements that come into it. And I always like to think of trends as little moments to pay attention to in terms of what women are really loving and who is kind of leading that. But I also feel like as a designer, I have a kind of a responsibility to maintain my storytelling and the aesthetic and the relationships that I have with my brides because I pull so much information and inspiration directly from my brides.
mm,
So I try to make sure I'm not getting too distracted or caught up in, oh, this silhouette is selling the most or this,
mm, mm,
is what everyone wants, because the minute something becomes really known and diluted in the space, that's when there's an opportunity to do something different. And
mm.
so I think that that's kind of a fun way to kind of approach design and how you're expressing your creativity.
Well, leave it to you to look into crystal balls and come up with the magic that goes along with it. So, what do you think the future looks like for you? Are you going to continue with bridal,
Yes.
the shoes, the both? What's
Yeah,
next?
I would love to do it all. I definitely feel a little bit spread thin at the moment just because we are operating our small business still.
Mm,
And now that I've got bridal back, it's my baby. And so I definitely want to make sure that 110,000 million trillion percent effort goes into that.
yeah,
So, it's just about managing time and making smart choices every day, not wasting time, not getting distracted, not spending, 4 hours on a video just to get virality.
yeah.
But really making sure you're getting quality time out of your work days. But I foresee us continuing with bridal and the shoes and figuring out other product lines that we could jump into once we're kind of rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
And then Conrad and I will be getting married soon. So that's exciting.
You have a date?
We don't have a date yet, but we are going to look at wedding venues in Austin in just a couple weeks. So
Oh,
that will be exciting.
what a great story that's going to be. I have two last questions before we go because I know
Yes.
what kind of time is. So, how do you balance your career, your community, your charity, and your love life with everything?
Yes. I don't really balance it, to be honest, because a lot of it is so interwoven. And I have such a gracious fiance who is very supportive of my career. And so he knows that there's going to be moments where I've just got to commit a little bit extra time to work. But I would say it's important to kind of think about when you have real focused attention so that when you're doing something, whether you're relaxing at home with your loved one or you're at dinner with friends or you're in social media doing your content game, that you are really focused on that one task at hand. I'm not a huge fan of multitasking. I think it really divides attention. And so if you can make sure that you're giving your all to that one thing you're focusing on, I think that's a good place to start.
I think so too. Put the blinders on, so it's like being in the moment. So it's being
Yeah.
there. Or full stop on that. So I always ask all our special guests like what their favorite cocktail is, and as folks know,
Oh.
then I render it in a watercolor as a cocktail napkin, and we sell it to your charity. I assume yours is a girl you might know, but
Yes.
yeah. So you can tell us about that, and then what's your favorite drink?
My favorite cocktail is a spicy margarita, and I like it up, and I like it with tahini on the rim, and I like it with a side of chips and queso. But yeah, that's my go-to cocktail, and I would say, what was your other question? It was about the
Uh,
foundation.
yeah, a little bit about your foundation because I assume that's your charity. So
Yeah, so that's our nonprofit. We started it out of really just necessity in the industry and wanting to protect and provide advocacy for young creators that need legal support or they need any kind of upfront knowledge before they sign a big contract. So we kind of structure it in a three-facet system to provide access to pro bono or low bono attorneys, curriculum and templates that anyone can use. And then we also have a grant where we offer money to creatives every year. So that's been an exciting extension of the rebrand and just goodwill because we want to make sure we're setting people up for success. And yeah, it's been a very exciting journey, but running a foundation is just as hard as running a business. So
it's, it
it's
is.
not as glamorous as people think. Yeah.
You make all of it look glamorous. I will say that, and your
Oh, that's sweet.
attitude and your can-do attitude is incredible.
Thank you.
People already follow you, so they know. But here's your Instagram account, and here's the Facebook account. But I am so honored that you took the time. I know how busy you are, and we had our little hiccup here when we were trying to get online.
Yep,
So I really, really appreciate that. And what
of
you're doing
course.
just is so uplifting to so many people, especially to women. So I wish you continued success.
Oh, thank you, Leanne, and thank you for putting so much effort and beauty into your tablescape. I wish I could be there with you enjoying. It
I
looks
know.
so inviting and
It is.
glamorous.
It is so
Yeah,
good.
and you look just amazing in your dress. That I'm gonna need a couple pictures if that's okay.
You're too kind. You're too kind. Well, when you're next in New York, I'll bug you, and then we'll go out and we'll toast some more. So for now,
Would love
kiss
that.
and
Would love
kisses.
that.
Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day and happy
Thank you.
weekend.
Thank you. Same to you.